Hello there, internet. I just made an introduction video, but now I guess I just decided to go right to my first vlog entry update video. So yes, I jotted down some notes about what I want to talk about. I'm gonna try not to be super scripted though, because I don't know, that might seem insincere. Maybe it would make the video flow better, but we're just gonna try it this way for now. So the first thing that I'd like to talk about is I started up school recently as a full-time student. This is the first semester that not only am I full-time, but I'm also doing classes that are involving my major, so that is crazy to me. Additionally, I am doing classes through my university back home. In a sense, I really am enjoying online classes, not having the pressure to get up and go places. Usually whenever I'm super depressed and have trouble getting out of bed, you know, I get envious and feel ashamed because, you know, I'm thinking, well, normal people in the world, they're able to function, they're just going. And I can't, you know, I can't even get out of bed. But with COVID, a lot of stuff has calmed down. In that sense, I felt like I was right where I needed to be. And I didn't have to feel like I was behind everyone else. And that just felt really relieving. But in terms of the day-to-day, being full-time is interesting. I'm taking 4 classes, but I got so depressed and I got so behind to the point where I'm pretty sure I'm just going to drop a class. That was a really hard decision for me to make because, you know, I was taking 4 classes and I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to take as many classes as possible so that way I can get as close as possible to finishing my major while not having to be in my homestay. It's gonna be perfect, but yeah, that it didn't work out that way and it sucks, but I think it's the safer option in a sense because if I lighten my course load now, then I'm more likely to save myself from burnout from the succeeding semesters. At least that's what I'm saying to reassure myself, more or less. Something that I really struggle with in school is procrastination. I don't think that's an uncommon thing with people, but I convince myself that it is because I guess it's just easier to mope and make myself feel more alone by saying, nobody else has to deal with this and why am I so dumb? I've been working with my therapist prioritizing how to deal with school, especially with the big assignments, projects, papers, exams, and recently I submitted my very first paper for my bioethics class. I was really proud of it because usually in the past I would write papers and it would just be like, you know, I would have this relief that it's over, but I wouldn't feel proud of it. I would just be like, okay, that was a stroke of luck, you know, a fluke, or even if it weren't, even if it were objectively good, I wish that I had spent more time with my thoughts on this because this is an interesting topic and it's not satisfying in the least. So the fact that I was able to at least do enough for my paper in advance, it was a lot more thoughtful than I thought it would be. And so I am super proud of myself. So yeah, hopefully I can keep up that momentum with school. I guess another thing to mention is that my sleep schedule has been super fucked up, which it's just really taken a toll on my general morale because I mean, it's messing everything up. It's messing up my food schedule, my med schedule. I either can't sleep due to stress, or I get distracted and really immersed in something, or I feel guilty about not having accomplished much during the day, and so I try to make up for that during the night, and, you know, because I'm kind of tired, that's really inefficient. Or maybe I just stay up a long time talking to a friend. I feel like my social needs have really increased, and not in even a needy way. I used to really depend on people when I was at the peak of my illness, and now I feel like I like talking to people at night. Definitely sometimes because I do get really depressed and have some dark shit going on, but a lot of the times just to shoot the shit and because I really enjoy their company. So that's been cool, but also it hasn't because I do that at times when I should be asleep. Speaking of friends and everything, BPD is really tied to personal relationships, and when there are stressors in those, arguments and tensions, then it really affects me, and I get pretty self-destructive and I overreact, and it's really bad. It's really unhealthy. It's really harmful and destabilizing to the relationship. So naturally I'm trying to change that because I'd like to keep people around instead of pushing them away. I think definitely part of what's really made that hard, especially lately, is I took 2 huge blows to involving these 2 pretty deep relationships, and I'm really struggling because I guess I have been abandoned before, but not in a really long time, and especially not with someone I had been so close to for so long. Both of them were exes, but one I had been with for 2 years, give or take, and the other one I was with for about 4 months, maybe? I like to stay friends with my exes. I'm fine with that. Unless they do some really fucked up shit, I'm fine with staying friends. But, these 2 people, well, the last ex was not fine with staying friends. But the other one, the 2-year one, it sucks because he was willing to stay friends with me, but, around April, May-ish, I got really suicidal and did a lot of self-harm, and I tried to kill myself around, about 4 times in a row, and he was kind of on the sidelines in a sense because he was, he was back in my home state, because that's also his home state, and so he kind of just had to watch from afar. I can imagine how miserable that was for him, but he basically sent me a message saying that he was, he needed space and that it wasn't gonna be forever, but it was gonna take as long as it needed to, and he was gonna block me on everything, and he did. And by the time I had received that message, he had already blocked me, so that was just so miserable and such a shock to my system, and it's really fucking me up, and I don't really know how to deal with it. On one hand, I'm proud that he's taking care of himself and, paying attention to his health, prioritizing himself and his needs, but on the other hand, I'm so pissed off because he left me in my time of need, and I don't know if I'll ever be able to forgive him for that. So it's been really hard because that situation, that blow to my system, has started to affect my other relationships, people who haven't abandoned me and people who have stayed loyal to me and people who really haven't hurt me much thus far. The friendships that I've gained here, those have been going well, but now after that happened, my fear of abandonment just skyrocketed, and I'm really on edge. And this is an issue with me. I'll know that I'm doing something that is not helpful, something that's harmful either to general relationship or myself, but it doesn't, that doesn't change me doing it. And I don't really know how to do that. It's do I just go through the motions and not do the thing that is harmful, or do I have to recognize it and accept it emotionally? And I think that is what I have to do, because I really can't go through the motions because my emotions are so intense. My fear of abandonment is so intense that even if I recognize that it's irrational and that it's unfair to the other person, I can't let it go. It doesn't change my behaviors, and I don't know what to do. In a sense, I do, because I'm working with my therapist on it, but I still fuck up quite a bit, and I'm getting kind of impatient with it, and I just feel toxic. And I hear my ex's voice in my head all the time. It's really interesting because I used to, I was the sick one. I was the identified patient, as they call it in family therapy. Like, I always felt like I was the responsible one for our relationship going to shit in some ways. And that I was the one who was responsible for making him miserable and me miserable as a result of him being miserable and treating me the way he does as a result of his misery. It's just so eye-opening because being distant from him and not talking to him anymore and being by myself, it gives me a lot of time to reflect. And I'm starting to realize that, insofar as two people have a dynamic with each other, two people are going to be responsible for what happens in said dynamic. And in that sense, it's not all my fault for things going to shit and for us having rough times. And, it's crazy, but that is the case. But I still don't believe it. Like, even as I'm saying that, it's like, well, I don't know. I think I ruined basically everything and he's just perfect and it was fine. But, I just, my mind is going back to all these times when I just felt like everything was my fault when, in reality, he was definitely not helping, in terms of making that relationship, more stable. And I'm not saying it was totally his responsibility. It was both of ours. I was doing my part by going to treatment, and mixed progress there. We were starting to get along a lot more, but it was hard because he got really apathetic just because of me being high-strung and my emotions being so intense. And like, yeah, that's something that he did that was not helpful, and that was not something that destabilized our relationship. And I blamed myself for that. And it's insane how this stuff fucks with you when you're in the middle of the situation, when you're in the throes of it, instead of being someone who's looking from the outside. And it's so hard because even now, as I'm saying this, I'm thinking that, I'm hearing his voice in my head saying, you're wrong and you're misinterpreting it, and why are you always making me the bad guy? And it's fucking with me, man. I still haven't been able to divorce myself from that mentality because, we've been enmeshed for 2 years. For me, that's been my longest relationship ever. I'm still really affected by the way he thought about me and the things he said to me and the judgments he had about me. Like, I'll be doing things in my everyday life with a given person, and I'll just have, his voice in my head being like, oh my gosh, like, how come you never learn? Or, this is so like you, this is predictable. Obviously, like, some of those things that I just said, they're cherry-picked. It's not like he would say that stuff all the time. But obviously they were the most impactful things, so I think about them a lot because, those really hurt me. So, yeah. Another thing that was just total insult to injury was that, when he blocked me, shortly after, like maybe an hour or so, he emailed me saying, hey, I think that you have borderline personality disorder because I've been watching videos on it and it really reminds me of my experiences with you. And that just really fucking pissed me off because one of the things that I really felt he did when we were together was really treated me and saw me just as an illness. He really didn't view me as my own person. This is something my therapist taught me, is that, people can do really extreme things when they have a bad mood swing or, when they're having certain reactions. And obviously, those extreme things are often ineffective and uncalled for. But, like, they're all based on emotions that we've all felt that are universal. And so all emotions are valid in that sense. not all of them are justified, but they're all valid. And I think that he really did not, take those opportunities to validate them. He's an imperfect human being, and unless he were a medical professional, like, he doesn't exactly have all this experience. Like, these situations that we were in are not situations that a lot of people our age, or just people in general, have to deal with in a partnership. It was intense, and I can't expect him to know everything within those situations. But on the other hand, yeah, like, because of that lack of validation, and because he would just go straight to, you know, you're feeling this way because of your illness. I felt crazy. I felt like all of my feelings were just my insanity, and I did not know what to do. And so, yeah, I felt like the burden was entirely on me in order to fix the relationship. So, yeah, like, the fact that he emailed me about, you know, oh, maybe you have borderline, it just, like, what the fuck, dude? It reinforced this idea of, oh my gosh, like, every feeling I have is wrong, every, you know, reaction I have is just insanity, like, I'm just the crazy one, whereas he's, like, the perfect one. So his denial and his refusal to accept quite a bit of responsibility is really fucking with me. And it reinforces, you know, this idea that, oh my gosh, my feelings are wrong, and I don't know how to divorce myself from this issue. I think that, you know, it's possible, it's just a matter of time. In addition to all the other issues that I struggle with and all the other negative thoughts I still have these judgments in my mind. Like, even as I'm talking about this, I'm just so pissed about this situation, and I feel so fucked over and lied to, you know. It's not like he was consciously lying to me, but he messed with my head, and he's still messing with my head. That's the really fucky thing. So yeah, as I'm grieving that, like I said before, my other interpersonal relationships, even though they had nothing to do with me and him, they're still getting unstable. And it's not always as a direct result from what he did, but it, you know, it's definitely shot up my fear of abandonment. And because of that, I'm really lashing out at some of my close friends more, and I feel like I'm a really toxic person. That's another thing that was really reinforced by my ex, because, yeah, after I was with him, I dated this other person who's currently in my state. He's not from where I was originally from. And he and my ex got in contact with each other because when I was going through those instances of trying to kill myself, my current ex, or my boyfriend partner at the time, was trying to update my ex via texts. So when he blocked me, that ex, the 2-year dude, he messaged my most recent ex. This is complicated. He messaged him and basically gave him this warning message of, like, you know, don't let your heart obscure what your mind knows, was essentially what he said. You know, just sort of this, like, watch out, you know, a warning about who I am. You know, he's like, there were so many things that I wish I could tell you. You seem like a sweet guy. And gosh, you know, that was a knife to the fucking chest, and frankly, so disrespectful. That was unbelievable. That was insulting. That really fucked me up. So that fucked me up in the sense that now I feel like I'm this trap. I'm this person, this trap that people get ensnared in, and, you know, and I trick them, in a sense, into liking me, into them thinking I'm a really cool, chill person. But then my instability and my illnesses will come out, and they'll be trapped in that because, you know, maybe by that point they love me, you know, as a partner or, you know, as a really close friend, and they can't get out, and because of that love, they're blinded, and they stay with me even though it gets really toxic and unhealthy for them. And I'm not gonna say that that's not the case, but now those feelings and those fears are just, they're magnified so much because of what my ex said. And I feel so ashamed, and I feel like I don't deserve relationships, and I don't know how I'm ever gonna be able to get over that, because that was already something that I had struggled with to a lesser extent, but I still struggled with it. But now, oh my gosh, it just takes over my mind all the fucking time. And I'm so mad that he instilled those beliefs into me, purposefully or not. I'm not going to assume that he intended to do all this stuff, to cause all this pain. In fact, like, I seriously doubt he did. But just because he didn't intend to doesn't change the fact that he did. You know, I feel like people who say, oh, I didn't mean to, that's such a cop-out. You know, if you hit someone with your car, you know, ran over a pedestrian, you know, you say, and then saying, I didn't mean to, that doesn't change the fact that you fucked someone up and that there are reparations to be made. You don't wash the blood off your hands just by saying that. And he would often do that, you know, he'd be like, I don't intend to, you know, it's just your way of interpreting things, like, that's on you. He would hurt me, and then somehow it would still be my fault for being hurt. This relationship is sounding a lot more toxic than I ever thought it was. I wonder if this would have been an issue even if I had not been sick. Like, if these true colors would have come out. They would have, right? They must have. Like, you can only hide that shit for so long. I don't know, though. I don't know, because me having an illness definitely added to this idea of you're crazy. Like, your feelings aren't valid, because your feelings are so extreme. Your reactions are. And your behaviors as a result of those reactions are. Like, chill the fuck out. I get it, but also, geez, you know, that really doesn't help my outlook on life and my views towards myself. And I hate the fact that I feel this way. Because it's one way to feel a certain way, but a whole nother ballgame to feel a certain way as a result of someone's, like, manipulation or someone's influence. Sort of these lies that someone's told you. And again, like, I'm saying this right now and I don't even think of them as lies. So this is just, I don't fucking know what to do. But, yeah, that's the gist of my current issues, dealing with the past. So I think that's a pretty, this is a pretty substantive update. I will see y'all during the next update.